Hi, welcome to HMP's Fear of Snowflakes podcast. I'm here with Beth Lennon, and we're going to talk about finances, which actually is probably a really relevant topic right now. I was just at one of our clients yesterday, and I was talking to the CEO, and they're about to do a price increase, and they're doing it because of all the tariffs and everything else that are going on. And we were talking about finances in general and how people are feeling impacted by it. And I was thinking, this is probably one of those things that we don't even consider how that impacts different generations differently, and whether or not that's something in the workplace that we should really be considering is in the back of, the younger generation's mind as something that they're really focused on and what brings them motivation for work, and how much of that's important to them. So let's talk about it. So finances. Are you ready to retire tomorrow? Have you been saving since you're 16? I mean, what's the deal?
No, not yet. Yeah, but I think that's something that's really on the forefront of like the younger generation's minds right now because especially the cost of living is
Oh,
quite
outrageous.
a lot.
Oh my gosh. I feel so bad. You couldn't buy a house if you wanted to today.
I
Like,
know.
it's so funny. People are complaining, my kids are going to live with me forever. And I'm like, probably because they couldn't afford to live on their own nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, unless you have like 15 roommates, you aren't going to afford a house. There's just no way.
Yeah, especially like going to live in the city after college, like New York City after college, or like any city really. It's no longer like, oh, I'll just move there after college. Like you really have to save before. Like rent is just insane.
Yeah. Is that something that you were taught early on, like in school and like college or, growing up, like save, save, save? Or is that not something that, you were really spend a lot of time learning?
No, it really wasn't. Like I didn't even have to take like a personal finance class or anything like that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. You there it's offered, but like it's not required.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask a question that's totally going to make me laugh when I hear the answer. Do you have a checkbook or know how to even balance a checkbook?
No.
Okay. I guess I knew the answer to that.
My parents have them.
Yeah, I figured that. It's a generational thing, I think.
Yeah.
Um, but that's one of those things where balancing a checkbook, bank reconciliation, things like that just aren't something that are ingrained in, the Gen Z. And so how do you feel comfortable knowing what you have in your bank account or your budget or paying the bills or anything like that?
Well, yeah, since online banking is such a big thing now, you kind of have it all like in one place in front of you, but it's not the same as it used to be.
So do you balance your checkbook or your bank account every month?
No, I don't even know what that means.
Oh my God. Are you kidding me? Okay, so how do you know at the end of the month that you have enough money to pay your bills for the next month?
Well, I don't have any bills.
Okay, so now
I
we're
live
really
with my
getting down to
parents.
why this is why kids live at home forever. They don't have any bills anymore. Okay, so then this is that part of what motivates you when it comes to finances and money though. Like, is there this fear, like because everything's so expensive and because of the way the world's going and tariffs and what that means for jobs and costs of living and hell, even the gas at the gas station, like that alone freaks me out when I drive by it every day.
Yeah, Washington's gas is insane.
Oh my God. What is the gas over there right now in Jersey?
I think it's like 3.29 around me right now. Isn't it like six there?
Yeah, it's like $4, four something right now. It's like insane. I'm
That's
like, I might as well just push my car everywhere I go. Like, it's not worth it. Okay, but so all joking aside, what makes you afraid when it comes to finances?
well, definitely moving out after college. I want to be able to go maybe live at home for like a year-ish, but be able to move to the place I want to and be able to afford rent and groceries and not have to have like my parents or someone else help me with that.
So when you say move out on your own, you mean not having roommates or anything else, being able to afford to be independent.
Well, either like maybe if I lived with roommates in an apartment, but still being able to afford my own bills, my own groceries, stuff like that, and my own rent, obviously.
So,
Even having roommates now, like it's not cheap.
okay, point taken. I gave up having roommates after college. I was like, I'm never living with people again. Like that was
I
it.
get that.
Done. I don't like other people's messes.
Yeah.
Then I got married and I have bigger messes or whatever. So if you don't spend time learning how in your generation, I'm not talking you personally, so I'm not picking on you, Beth, but I'm saying your generation doesn't spend time learning how to create budgets or balance, their checking accounts or anything like that. When you do move out and you do have to start doing that, where is that skill going to come from? And I'm asking because I think this is a big problem that this generation is going to have is like you're going to either end up overspending and living off of credit card debt because they don't know how to make sure that they're living within their means, or they're just going to end up having to take on multiple jobs because they don't have enough income for the lifestyle that they've chosen. How is that going to balance when that hasn't been a skill that's been taught?
Well, I think that's something Gen Z is like seeking and why people are like, why am I going to school for all this tuition and stuff when I'm not learning real life skills anymore, you know?
Ah, okay, that makes sense. So, where do you think you get it from? Do you think this is something your parents should be teaching you? Do you think this is something work should be teaching you? Hell, do you think college should be offering better courses in it? Where do you think this should be coming from?
Yeah, I think college. I mean, you're
Okay.
there for so much time. Why aren't you learning the life skills you need to be successful when you leave college, you know?
I'm surprised. I wonder where it stopped happening because it was taught. Like it was a required class in high school for me, as one of your elective classes you had to take. So we had to learn how to balance a checkbook. Yes, I know. That's this little tiny thing that has little pieces of paper in it that you write, and it's called money. I'm just kidding. I'm just being a smart ass. Um, but we learned how to balance a checkbook, how to create a budget. So this is how much money you have. These are all your bills. How are you going to make it work, right? We had to learn how to do all of that in high school because they wanted you, if you didn't go to college, they wanted you to be able to survive, but they wanted you to make sure you understood the impact of finances and money. And so I don't know why that stopped being taught. I think that's so critical.
Yeah, and also like home tech classes, like never had that in high school either. That got removed. I think it was all replaced by like computer courses. And they just thought like, oh, everything's going to be online. They can find it on their own, you know? They have the internet to look it up.
There's a piece of me that wants to go out and ask Chat GPT, can you teach
Yeah.
Gen Z how to live in a budget and see what it would actually tell us? It
I'm sure it would give you like a good plan.
would probably say live at home with your parents, not have bills.
Yeah.
So, but my question, I guess, my next question is there are lots of people who do still live at home with their parents. And it feels like, and that may just be my perception, but it feels like they're living at home because they want to. And they have no desire to move out and try and live on their own. Is that true or is that a misperception?
I think that's a misperception. I think it is because of how expensive it is. Like it's just not realistic, especially like my older sister, she moved out right after college, but like I see now like my friends' siblings, they all are living at home for 2, 3 years before they end up moving to the city they want to be in.
So you think it's just a short-term fix to try and financially get yourself set up?
I think for most people, yes, but I mean, obviously there are different
Well,
types
there's
of people
always
that just
exceptions in every
wanna,
generation.
yeah,
That has nothing to
yeah.
do with it. Yeah. So, do you think there's a bigger fear in your generation for all of this going on in the world right now when it comes to finances? Like just all of the tariffs and, just the costs of everything. Do you think that that impedes your guys' ability to just really want to become more adventurous or become entrepreneurs, for lack of a better term, right? Because that takes a lot of capital and a lot of risk. And are you guys finding that you're more risk adverse, or do you think that even impacts you?
Well, I think like what you're saying about entrepreneurs, I think people are feeling like if I'm gonna work this 9 to 5 and make this amount of money and still have to struggle to pay my rent, pay my like all of that, that's why people are like, well, if I still am gonna struggle to afford things, I might as well do something I love and try to make some money from being an entrepreneur. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay. So it's actually impacting the opposite way.
Yeah.
Okay. I never thought of it that way.
And I think that's why people are seeking like the company. It's not that Gen Z doesn't want to work, they just want to change how their work life is because having to afford things now is so stressful. So if you're making this amount of money and not being able to live super comfortably like you used to be able to when rent was cheaper, groceries were cheaper, gas was cheaper, there was like a bigger differential in your income and how expensive things are. And the income hasn't, it's gone up, but not in the way that everything else has, like rent and
Yeah, it hasn't met inflation by any
yeah,
means. No, you're
yeah.
absolutely right. I've never actually looked at it that way. That's actually a really brilliant way of looking at it. And it kind of changes my perception of how I've how I've felt that Gen Z is truly looking at finances. So it really is, you're right. I mean, my generation, it was a lot easier and there was extra income. You know, after you worked, you had income to play with, and you guys don't have that. Every dime that you guys are making is barely allowing you to live. And sometimes that means living with roommates and it means living at a lower income means and, not being able to afford the location you even want to live in. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So then, does that mean that you guys save less? Do you find yourselves not wanting to invest in retirement plans, 401ks, savings accounts, money market accounts more because there's not as much to invest, or it's not as important to look towards the future because you have to spend more just to be able to have a decent current?
Yeah, I mean, I think people ideally would love to save, but it's just a little unrealistic how much people like saved maybe when you were growing up versus now. I think people do still save or save for a rainy day, or if you get laid off, like that's becoming more of a thing too, like getting laid off from your job.
Yeah.
Um, so people do have to save for that, but I think it's becoming harder to do that when your everyday living is so expensive.
Yeah, I would say I've seen that trend when I'm doing benefit research in organizations to see what kind of benefits people are looking for. I am finding less and less of the younger generations are looking for better retirement programs at work. They're not looking for better investments for their 401ks or company matches for 401ks. They really are looking for HSAs, which is money. They're looking for better compensation. They're looking for more vacation time. They're looking for, profit share or bonuses. That makes more sense what you're saying. It's about what they can do for today and the money that they need to be able to live today. Okay.
Yeah, and healthcare too. So expensive.
Oh my gosh, healthcare is the worst. You can get me started on that whole thing. I think it is a very corrupt and broken system that is only getting worse, not better.
Yeah. And it's so expensive if you don't, it's even more expensive if you don't have it. So,
Yeah, no, that's very true. So tell me what would be a good thing for employers to know about Gen Z and how to help them feel confident and safe in a work environment financially.
well, I think if you make Gen Z stay in the workplace, then they will start being promoted and making more money and being able to feel more financially safe in their day-to-day lives. But I think the biggest misconception is that Gen Z doesn't want to work, but then they complain about like not having money. But it's not that. They just want to change how they're working and their work schedule so that they can have more free time, but also be able to afford living. So, It's not that they don't want to work. It's not that they just want the money to be thrown at them. It's just that it's gotten a little bit harder to live day by day than it was maybe when the leaders were growing up.
So it really is an understanding and more freedom, more flexibility, and possibly just a career path. So making sure we're doing a better job of creating growth in career paths and an opportunity for better communication of that early on with Gen Z so that they understand what it is that's available for them. So they can see the future and they can see the financial future as well inside of an organization, I think is important then.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's something that's new because I would say older generations just waited for that to happen and
Mhm.
assumed it was going to happen. And younger generations need to actually be able to see the big picture. Like you said, the why is so important. And once they can see the why, then they'll be able to invest their time and energy back into the organization, which is important.
Yeah, definitely.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, I've learned a lot. I actually learned more than I thought I would on this one. I thought I was off the mark completely when it comes to finances and what they're looking for. So I appreciate that.
Of course. Okay, well, thank you everyone for tuning into Fear of Snowflakes, where every generation brings something worth listening to. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks
Bye.
so much.